The urgent Frontline Phantom Wingy HIMARS has shown the power of its strike. It was caught on camera for the first time. Exclusive footage of the occupiers' defeat in Donbas is mesmerizing. A column of Putin's soldiers has vanished into oblivion. Now that's a strategic rout. The enemy forces have lost their combat capability. The bomb of vengeance has exploded. And now another beast enters the arena. The Dobropillia cauldron is unfolding in full force. What is known about this firepower giant? We reveal all the details in the following report.
It quickly reaches its firing position and is ready to deliver a deadly strike in just seconds.
Everyone has heard about their work, and we've seen videos of their spectacular hits more than once. It was this equipment that during the counteroffensive helped us destroy Russians both in the Kharkiv and Kherson regions. These are HIMARS, the already legendary HIMARS. Now they are operating here in Donetsk region, striking at enemy rear positions.
These are unique shots. In 3 years of full-scale invasion, almost no one has ever filmed the work of the HIMARS. And no one has ever stood this close to such American multiple launch rocket systems. Meanwhile, the enemy is really feeling the heat from the HIMARS work. The chances of surviving its strike are almost zero. But today, the American multiple launch rocket system will target an enemy column. The Russians were advancing toward the Dobropillia direction with heavy equipment. The crew is already prepared to strike. But suddenly the command, abort. The HIMARS quickly leaves the field. Standing here like this is extremely dangerous. The enemy wouldn't hesitate to use an Iskander on such a target. After a brief pause, the crew receives new coordinates and heads back to the firing position.
So basically, they fired the HIMARS, it's no longer visible, there's a smoke screen, and the rocket is already on its way to the occupiers' heads.
The enemy column starts to burn while the HIMARS crew rushes off to reload. Most people jokingly call the HIMARS a ghost of the front line. It strikes quickly and then vanishes just as fast. This crew hasn't slept since 4 in the morning. Reload, strike, and
after the process has finished, everything returns to the beginning and the entire cycle starts over again. This means that all the steps and events that have already happened will take place once more, following the same order as before. The cycle repeats itself, always coming back to the starting point and beginning anew, continuing in this way without a true end.
17 armored vehicles, a tank, and more infantry on motorcycles. The Russians stubbornly keep pushing toward the Dobropillia direction. At the same time, they're being stopped by HIMARS, drone operators, and another American multiple launch rocket system. It's almost like a HIMARS, but on tracks and a bit older. This MLRS was developed back in the 1980s, but despite its age, it's maneuverable. And any other rocket system would envy its loudness. So the MLRS has special targets.
There were artillery cannons, military command posts, UAV control stations, and infantry units. There were dugouts, there were structures.
The enemy is also hunting the M270, just like the HIMARS. The MLRS can fire not only 227mm caliber rockets, but also send much more powerful ones at the enemy. For example, Attack MS. They can strike at several hundred kilometers.
We had them, we used them, and we use them quite often. I can't tell you about the targets, that's a question for the command. They are much more effective because you can hit targets on enemy territory as the range is significantly increased. Plus, they are harder to shoot down or jam with tracer missiles.
Few people ever see these crews, but they are always working on the hottest fronts. Missiles launched from HIMARS and M270 are among the most painful blows to the enemy. And as long as our partners keep supplying missiles without interruption, these MLRS are never left idle. They are never standing still.
Everything is done very quickly. With the Smerch, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes. Here, it takes about 5 minutes and the job is already done. The missile is on its way to the enemy.
The soldiers themselves say that the appearance of such multiple launch rocket systems has significantly influenced the course of combat operations. The enemy can no longer feel safe, neither near the front line nor deep in the rear. A strike can land anywhere. The main thing is the range of the missiles.
The longest range ones can reach up to 500 kilometers, but we aren't given those. Would you like to have them? Of course, because then they could reach Moscow.
Ole Kornienko, Fox City, United News.
This is a real game changer on the front line. The Russians have admitted that Pokrovsk is too tough for them. A victory for the Ukrainian armed forces. Our troops are about to finish off the enemy. A spectacular rout is looming. Putin is on edge, aiming towards Zaporizhzhia. Ukrainian defenders are standing like a wall. Hell is called the Black Cloud. The Russian Federation is sensing disaster. The rear is turning into the front line. Storm Shadow missiles have struck and caused 2 major hits. However, it seems these aren't the only explosive surprises. What else is in store? More on this in the next segment.
Russia is trying to take advantage of the last weeks of good weather to advance as much as possible on the front line. This explains the record losses of heavy equipment. The enemy's losses in October surpassed those of the entire year 2025. Just in the past 24 hours, 2 tanks and more than a dozen armored fighting vehicles have been destroyed.
With small infantry assault groups, it is theoretically possible to advance, but certainly not to any significant depth. This may indicate what is happening right now. An attempt is being made to launch a mechanized offensive with the goal of breaking through the front line along a width of at least 6 to 8 kilometers, as described in military textbooks and combat regulations, and to advance at least several dozen kilometers. Heavy equipment is being used for this purpose.
The most well-prepared assault units, both in terms of equipment and personnel, are traditionally concentrated in the Pokrovsk direction. However, round-the-clock attacks are not bringing the occupiers the desired result.
As of today, it is clear that despite the enemy's superior forces on all fronts, including the Pokrovsk direction, which remains truly the hottest spot and where the Russian army is attacking the most, we can say that these frontal actions by the Russians are now rarely repeated, because it is obvious that the 51st Army and in general the military that are attacking in this direction, today there are plenty of other problems as well.
And the main one is the encirclement of Russian Federation soldiers near Dobropillia. They have been there for about a month now. Moscow does not stop trying to send in reserves, which significantly disperses the efforts of the Russian group. As a result, all that has been achieved regarding Pokrovsk are just a few skirmishes on the outskirts of the city.
Indeed, counter-sabotage operations are very active today. The main task for the defense forces is to eliminate as many Russians as possible from urban buildings, because engaging in urban combat is the Russians' objective at this stage, to gain a foothold in the city in order to wait for reinforcements from other forces.
At the same time, another hotspot could become the Zaporizhzhia direction. After Pokrovsk, this is the second place where the Russians are trying to break through with large mechanized columns. They are also unable to achieve any results there. The situation has reached the point where even the ZVS correspondents, who usually praise all the wise decisions of the command, have been forced to change their rhetoric.
30 FPV drones against a single tank, the enemy can easily provide that, and accordingly no tank can withstand 30 FPVs. That's all worthless. To hell with all those so-called experts who are pushing for the continued recruitment of personnel just to be wiped out in columns.
The occupiers in their high offices stopped counting losses a long time ago. The main thing is to ensure an advance at any cost, and where that's not possible, at least to show some semblance of pressure.
I believe that for the offensive in Ukraine, it's important to get as close as possible to the regional center of Zaporizhzhia. Control over this settlement would not only allow Vladimir Putin to claim that he controls the entire Zaporizhzhia region, but also seriously damage the infrastructure, primarily the industry of this regional center. In the south of the Zaporizhzhia region, there is quite a large distance between settlements, and this means that the enemy has the opportunity to maneuver forces and resources.
At the same time, today's maneuvers are mainly aimed at controlling Ukrainian logistics. After all, a large weapons hub in the form of the regional center allows the armed forces of Ukraine to quickly deliver ammunition and reserves.
On the Poltavka-Malinovka-Uspenivka section, Russian infantry regularly carries out assault operations, mainly using convicts and other expendables. The logistics situation is about the same as in all other directions. In the Russian armed forces, they try to control all transport routes, setting up ambushes with FPV drones, including by using optical devices.
However, attempts to rush through the kill zone sometimes end in bizarre incidents. For example, here's a case of self-destruction against a disabled vehicle.
They were heading into the attack, but because of the smoke from the smoke grenades, they didn't see the disabled armored vehicle and crashed into it one after another.
At the same time, active resistance continues even in the Russian rear. For example, there was a strike with drones and cruise missiles. The storm shadow apparently put a permanent stop to the Bryansk chemical plant the day before.
The results of the strike are being clarified, but according to monitoring channels, the plant was completely destroyed. Photos of missile tail sections scattered around the area were published in Telegram channels. The Bryansk chemical plant is an important component of the Russian military-industrial complex. At this facility, the occupiers produced gunpowder, explosives, and components for rocket fuel.
By the way, Ukrainian attacks on Russian military-industrial facilities seem to have annoyed the Russians so much that they're finally starting to realize where the real source of all their problems lies.
The Kremlin isn't here, damn it. You need to hit the Kremlin. They got the coordinates mixed up.
And finally, a wonderful story from the SBU. After watching yet another propaganda video about Russian light aircraft for intercepting drones, the security service decided to make their own video. The specialists easily copied the coordinates and the next drone route was set to target them.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Ukraine's aviation fleet has never been like this before. Ours are preparing the skies for a breakthrough. Allies are supplying us with combat aircraft. In the Kremlin, their eyes nearly popped out from such generosity of our partners. Belgium is providing F-16 fighter jets, and on top of that, new birds are joining: American Viper and Venom helicopters. Strike-capable, fast and deadly, they are changing the rules of the game in the sky. Everyone is holding their breath. Devastation. The enemy has never been this loud before. You need to be the first to hear these sensational details.
One of the largest and most popular Russian Telegram channels. 2 majors for the audience. Over 1 million subscribers shared the news about Ukraine purchasing combat and transport helicopters.
We're talking about the Viper and the Venom. The manufacturer, Bell Textron, announced the signing of agreements of intent to develop cooperation with Ukraine. An agreement was signed to assess approaches to industrial cooperation as part of a potential purchase of AH-1 Zulu and UH-1 Yankee helicopters. The Venom is a transport helicopter, while the Viper is an attack helicopter that carries Hellfires. Both of them can use 70mm rockets, which basically means APKWS, and the Venom can be equipped with a minigun. And, recalling American practices, Ukraine could use these helicopters to shoot down drones like the Geran.
The interest of Russian media in the purchase of such helicopters indicates that the Kremlin understands that with the appearance of these birds in Ukrainian skies, the air defense system will become much more effective in combating Shahed strike drones. Attack helicopters. Bell helicopters are being purchased to replace the outdated Mi-24 and Mi-8, which have long since exhausted their service life. 85% of the parts in the Viper and Venom are identical, which means maintenance is cheap and simple. The Viper was created during the Vietnam War, back in 1965. And already in the 2000s, it received new engines and a rotor, upgraded avionics, a fire control system, comprehensive survivability improvements, as well as extensive digitalization. In terms of capabilities, the Viper is almost on par with the best attack helicopter in the world, the Apache.
The Apache is objectively more powerful, since it's a machine with a maximum takeoff weight of 10.4 tons compared to 8.4 tons. The Apache's combat radius, 300 kilometers, while the Viper's is 243 kilometers. Also, the Apache's main armament is more numerous, up to 16 AGM-114 Hellfires compared to 8 on the Viper. But the typical combat loadout on the Apache is quite similar. The Viper carries 8 Hellfires and 2 pods of 70mm unguided Hydra rockets. As for the automatic cannons, it's 30mm versus 20mm.
An agreement has already been signed regarding the evaluation of approaches to industrial cooperation within the framework of purchasing Viper and Venom helicopters.
We are proud to announce this agreement and the possibility of delivering these incredible helicopters to Ukraine. This initiative has been in development for some time, and we are looking forward to its completion. Jeffrey Schlosser, Senior Vice President of Bell.
In addition to the procurement of transport and attack helicopters, Ukraine will soon receive another batch of F-16 fighter jets. The Belgian Minister of Defense stated that as early as the beginning of 2026, the new birds will enter service with Ukraine immediately after Belgium receives its new F-35s.
We continue to receive deliveries according to schedule. The first 3 F-35s, not 4, have already arrived. Now they need to become operational. I think this will take a year or a year and a half. Once we achieve operational capability, we will be able to transfer our F-16S to Ukraine. This is a very important phase. I always explain this to the Ukrainians. As soon as we are able, we will transfer them. However, don't forget that our country has DCA capabilities and plays an important role in NATO's nuclear deterrence policy. This is the cornerstone of our doctrine. Theo Franken, Minister of Defense of Belgium.
This year, Ukraine received 2 F-16S from Belgium for spare parts. According to the security agreement between Ukraine and Belgium, the latter is to deliver 30 F-16 fighter jets by 2028. As of June 2025, Ukraine has already received more than 40 F-16s from its allies.